All right, we are continuing with our vector imaging unit and vector design unit 9. We just discussed question of the day 3. So now we are moving on to assignment 4, where we're going to use vectors towards one of those really effective use cases, which is logo design or just what are sometimes called graphic symbols. And the reason it's graphic is because it's going to be hard-edged and it's going to be only one color. And it's going to be black. So this is going to be a black-shaped design. And then, once we have sketched our idea for our black-shaped design, and then we've created it as just black shapes. So think of the white here as just being whatever the background is. Then we will do color variations on it. But it first has to work as a black shape. It can't be dependent on color. Our theme is an Earth Day achievement badge. You can approach that in any way you want, right? And it needs to work in both black and in color. Now, in order to get the refined sketch, we're not just going to take our first idea. We are going to try to really improve the approach, because logos, as we talk about in this, where did I put it? Here we go. Logo designs are all about being three things. And I want you to remember these three things. Whenever you do kind of branding, whenever you do logo types, whenever you do icons or avatars for people or for yourself, we're talking about symbols. Whenever you create a symbol, you want it to be clear, which means there's no confusion when you see it. Right? You want it to be engaging, which means it doesn't look like something they've seen 1,000 times before, right? And that it has some visual interest to it, even if it's subtle. And you want it to be designed in a way that it can be versatile. So it works really small, like on a business card, works really large, like on a billboard. All from one file, one visual approach. This is the professional workflow for that. You get your assignment. It's called the brief. That's the problem to solve. And your problem to solve is you're creating your own Earth Day achievement badge symbol. Right? So the first step that I would usually do is research. Even before, like looking for inspiration. So this is before you even brainstorm too much. So if I look up Earth Day achievement badges, like what does that even mean? What are the kind of things that you could highlight? I might look at just some Google images. Oh, okay. So we have like these stock site examples. We have ones for the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. We have ones that relate to recycling, ones that relate to reducing consumption, ones that relate to water usage, ones that relate to going green, which can mean lots of things, like more sustainability. And the difficulty is, like there are certain symbols we might see used over and over again, like plants, roots, hands, the globe, right? But I want you to start noticing when they rely too much on subtlety, like subtlety of line or subtlety of color, that would not make a very good black shape. And I would say this doesn't really make a great color image, right? It looks like it's poop in the grass, which could be interesting. But then think, how can that be turned into a clearer, symbol as you sketch? But maybe you like the concept behind it. And sometimes you can simplify too much. So I think this is supposed to be the globe, right? But it's not specific enough to really read clearly as a globe. Instead, it looks to me like kind of clouds passing on a circle. So sometimes you can use like existing symbols and then do your own version of them. So if I look at this example, just doing a little bit of research will really help sharpen your thinking. So this uses either the globe, or it uses leaves, or it uses hands. And then it has a little faucet. I don't think that faucet is really clear. Honestly, it looks like a bomb that's being dropped, right? So you want to really think, is this going to read, without confusion? Now, these are all, it's kind of the safety net of bad design, is that you can always caption something, right? So you make any image, and then if you put Earth Day with it, it's an Earth Day theme. So our goal is not to do what's called a combined mark, which is what this is. Our goal is to make it only pictorial. So just through a black-shaped symbol, without letters, we know that this is something related to Earth Day. And that's a challenge. And it can be like a nuanced, really specific thing as well. And it can, like I said, be even sarcastic and anti-Earth Day. But really with symbols, let's say that you do a flower, but the flower looks like it's like dunked in crude oil, right? You might be being sarcastic. You might think of that as like a pro-oil, anti-environment image. But if someone hears that it's an Earth Day achievement badge, they're going to see it as anti-oil because oil destroys the flower, right? You can't control the assumptions of your audience, right? You can only clearly depict the image you want to depict. So symbols are not as persuasive as people think. Persuasion in art has to do with relationships between things. Symbols don't give you much relationship. The one instance where it can is in this approach we have called positive versus negative space. That's getting pretty conceptual. So here is maybe the cleanest example. You just have a globe and you have leaves. So if you want something kind of corporate, completely versatile, really clear, the problem is this isn't super engaging because it feels very generic, right? So that's why we're making an achievement badge, because badges are something you wear on your body, and that's where we want to give it some personality. So how do we start? We're going to draw it in 3 different ways. We're going to draw one that is central symmetrical, we're going to draw one that's dynamic, and we're going to draw one that's a play of positive and negative space. So what might that look like? All right, I'm going to turn on my FaceTime camera. This is not my favorite thing to do, but I do it for you guys. And I'm going to show you my sketch, right? So I like to do it on a tiny index card. And I'm going to first just do central symmetrical. It's going to be backwards, but you get it. I'm writing it there. Now, what's my theme? I want to use a log. And central symmetrical is great for really holding the attention right in the center of your symbol. So even though I'm just doing it as a line drawing, I'm thinking of it as a black shape. So my refined logo, this would all be filled in with black, and then those lines would be white, right? But this is kind of my log. And then how do I show kind of hope from that? Maybe I would have a little spring coming up from the center of the log with a little leaf. That's because central symmetrical should be centered, but it doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical. If I wanted to make it a little bit more balanced and symmetrical, maybe I'd do something like that. But I still want it to feel organic. Okay, so that's my thumbnail for that. The next approach is dynamic. That means that you avoid horizontals and verticals, and instead you do everything on diagonals, and you use curves a lot, and you're trying to move the eye through the design at speed. So it energizes as the viewer looks at it. So if I'm going to stick with this idea of using like a stump, let's see, FaceTime again. This is going to be my dynamic version. And go ahead and label them, because you're going to post this. And then others are going to have to tell which is which that you're doing. So for this, I'm going to use the stump, but I'm going to use the stump at an angle. With more curvy roots kind of coming from it, like this. And then I'm leaving a lot of space for this branch that's going to reach out and have, and it looks like a zombie tore off someone's arm and then tore off at the elbow, and blood is spurting out of the artery. So this needs some visual balance, right? Because it's not clear yet. So how can I make this more clear? Well, I need to show the rings of the tree stump. I need to make this a little bit more clear. But I don't want to make it straight up and down for dynamic because it kills the movement, right? And yeah, I think that one's just kind of a loser. But you tried it, right? That's the whole point. You're pushing it. Now this one, this last one, is called positive and negative space. And it's where the empty space around your black symbol is also going to have content, right? So this one can actually be pretty simple. And you can decide if you like how your central symmetrical is working, or you like how your dynamic is working, and then this could be used as a way of refining it. So for my positive negative, let's see, how can I do this so I can draw and capture it? I'm going to show the tree stump just as a simple black silhouette shape. Right, just like that. So that's the positive space, but then inside of it, I'm going to show the branch. So positive, negative can be dynamic. Positive, negative can be central symmetrical. This one's more central symmetrical, right? So this would all be black. And then this would open to the bottom. Sorry, thank you. This would open to the bottom so that the white space around will then fill in inside, or the background space. Okay, now to do my proving ground number 2, the first part of the rubric is to just post those sketches. So I'm going to use my camera phone. Let's see, where are we? I want to go next. This is the second part of Unit 9. Next. And these are the rubrics we're trying to fulfill. We first have to post at least these 3 rough thumbnail sketches, and you want to make sure that what you post is clearly showing which one you intend to be central symmetrical, which one you intend to be dynamic, which one you intend to be positive, negative. So I'll use my camera, and I'm just going to do a screen grab of it because my laptop has a camera. Then, but you can take it with your own camera, get it onto your computer, use your email, use Google Photos or Apple Photos. Then I'm going to open it up in Preview. Because it's flipped around, right? I'm going to go to the tools within the preview window and say flip horizontal. Right? And then I could, if I want, use the tools to adjust the color. And this just gives me direct adjustments very quickly. I can do auto levels. I can, because it's yellow fluorescence in this room, I can take a little bit of that color temperature down, and I can sharpen it a bit. So it's nice and clear. Central symmetrical, dynamic, positive, negative. Now, this is very simple, and I don't need each of your approaches to be really successful, right? So I'm thinking, how can I make the dynamic one better? I could probably get rid of the tree stump. I don't think the tree stump is helpful. Maybe just do it with like a branch instead. But it's okay if one of them is just clearly not the one you're interested in, right? Because this is interrogating your approach, interrogating your idea, and trying to push the same idea into 3 different ways of looking at it, right? So here is with the bull and the fork. This was for a restaurant called Forking Bulls. Right. And the whole idea was to make